But these next three are basically almost the same. I'm going to put them together. So we have high equity. We have vacant. And I have senior owners. Okay, so the reason why, so usually senior owners and high equity are going to have a lot of quantities. There's going to be a lot of properties on high equity. You're looking at minimum, all of Bakersfield, at least 100,000 high equity right now, if not more, like 300,000. I think it was like 100 to 300,000 last time I checked. Now that's a lot. That's a lot of data. So what I would recommend is target zip codes like you're doing. Perfect. For high equity and for vacant, but especially for high equity, I would go 40% or more on equity. Especially if you're targeting a list that you want to target high equity, where you want lists to come back higher than the average. You're not looking for a subject to, you're looking more for a fix and flip, you're looking more for a wholesale deal. Usually a wholesale deal where you have a property with a lot of equity, you're able to negotiate the price, able to move things around, you're able to sell it to another cash seller, to another cash buyer, and still make some profit, you know what I mean? So you would want at least minimum 40% or more. For vacant, same thing, I would do 40% or more, or even 30% or more. As you get better, or depending on the list. The reason why I say depending on the list is because you're gonna have some lists that are not the same. You're gonna have some lists that have 100,000 records, and you're gonna have some lists that have 1,000 records. You see what I mean? And you gotta see your budget. If your budget tells you you're only gonna pull 2,000 records this month, then I wouldn't recommend to pull 2,000 high equity. I would recommend pulling 2,000 vacant, or pulling 1,000 vacant and 1,000 liens, or 1,000. You see what I mean? Don't just, because high equity you're gonna have so many, and free and clear you're gonna have so many. It's gonna be an overstock. Now, even if you want to go more in detail, since high equity has such a high number, you could even go 50% or higher on the equity, just so you could bring that number even lower. Ownership info, I would do minimum of 5 years plus on all of them. 5 years. It doesn't have to be 10 years. I like to do 10 years on free and clear, just because free and clear, they've already been paid off. It's been sitting for a while. So if it's vacant and they've been owners for 10 years, that's a big, big green flag telling me, hey, that's a good property. You know what I mean? If they've been owners for over 10 years and it's vacant, why is it vacant? Why is nobody living in it? Why haven't you rented it out? Why? When all those questions come together, you know it's a better list. Senior owners, I also like to go 5 years, 5 years, 5 years. Since high equity is such a big list, and since high equity usually we do purchase properties more cash, I like to go 1990 or earlier. 1990 or earlier. For vacant, I could do 1990 or earlier as well, because vacant, if they're vacant, that usually tells me that the property was abandoned, they didn't care for it anymore, they don't want it anymore. Same thing for senior owners. I'll keep it 1990 or earlier, just because senior owners are older. I've had a lot of senior owners who I've called, and they been wanting to get into a group home. They've been wanting to leave. So senior owners 1990 or earlier gave me a good result on senior people who are on their way out. You know what I mean? And that's one way that we could help them. We could buy their house and they could retire their last years over there. Let me see. For high equity, since it's such a big list, I like to go for properties 150,000 or less. You could even go 250,000 or even 200,000 or less, depending on the results, depending on how big the filter is. If you are looking at a property and if you're looking at a list and the list has 30,000 leads and you are filtering 150,000 or less, I'm sorry, if you're filtering 250,000 or less and you have 30,000 leads, then I would say go a little bit lower and start targeting the smaller homes. The smaller homes will usually sell easier, more cash offers, stuff like that. Really cool guy. Call him back. Okay, again, for Vacant, you could either leave this one, yes or no, optional. You could check it out. Sometimes Vacants are usually a smaller list. You're looking at about 2,000 to 3,000 typically. Over here, you're looking at about 100,000 to 300,000 typically. And over here, you're looking at about 3,000 to 10,000 typically. So you see what I mean? These lists are way, way, way bigger where you do have to filter them a little bit more. That way things just start adding up. Even for high equity, actually for the years of ownership for high equity, I even go 10 years. It's such a big list that it's not even worth it to do 5. I just go ahead and do 10. Over here on Vacant, I'll keep them on 5. Another way that I make the high equity a little bit smaller is I do building size, 2,000 square feet and less. Reason being is that just brings the list smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And it being such a big list, it really benefits to just bring it as small as possible. Now, one thing to keep in mind is as you are filtering these lists, and say for example you did all these filters, and all these filters out of 100,000 records, you ended up back with 5,380. If you ended back with 5,380, and say your budget was to pull 2,000 a month, minus 2,000, you have 3,380 left. You have 3,380 left. If you have 3,380 left, you have to remember next time you go pull this list again. Next time you decide, hey, next week I'm gonna pull a little bit more or whatever. You have to make sure that you're not pulling back the same ones that you pulled. You have to make sure to go start targeting these. You have to make sure, you see what I mean? Mm-hmm. So organizing skills is high. If you guys lack organizing, it will really take more of an impact on your business because it takes a lot of organizing. Mm-hmm. You have to know who you called, who was skipped, what was pulled, stuff like that. How I have it set up, I have a Google Drive. With my Google Drive, is the most simplest thing. You could grab different CRMs. Mm-hmm. CRMs are basically management companies for your company. It's nothing. It's sort of like, think about it as a Facebook. All it is whenever your cold callers or yourself, you set up a lead, an appointment, you put it into your CRM. It automatically puts it, or you put it manually. Usually CRMs are called like Podio.com, that's a CRM. Mm-hmm. There's another one, there's a few more, but I don't even use them. I just do a Google Drive, and on my Google Drive I have it set up as my personal CRM. Mm-hmm. I have my management files, I have my callers files, I have my lead organizations, I have the list that I called, I've had the missed calls, I have the wrong numbers. Because again, if you have wrong numbers, that doesn't mean that the address is bad. That just means that the person that we skip traced came back as a different number. So we have to set them up as a wrong number and find another way to contact them. If we don't have their right number, we called and it was Jerry and the owner is John, then there's no point for us to keep calling Jerry. And if we tried skip tracing it with a different software and Jerry still came back because he was a renter there, it's not good to call or text Jerry. So next best thing to do would be to either send them a letter, because that way we know that the owner would see the mail, or we either go and door knock. We'll go knock on their door, see if the owner's actually there in person. So there's different ways, different techniques, but you have to keep track of your KPIs. KPIs is your performance. See what's working, see what's not working, see where this is going, see where that's going, and so forth. You know what I'm saying? Any questions on this? Pretty simple, huh?